What is going on inside of the CDC? This week, we got a very rare look into the operations that are occurring inside of the agency and what is happening and why people are leaving in droves under RFK Jr. This information comes from a Senate hearing where Dr. Howry and Dr. Monarez spoke about what is going on inside of the CDC and why they're both gone. Dr. Monarez was the Trump appointed CDC director who was backed by RFK Jr. and fired 29 days later by the same administration. Monarez testified that she was going to be required to rubber stamp any recommendations that came from the ACIP committee, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. The entire 17-member committee that had been operational for many years, well vetted, was fired by RFK Jr. and replaced by known anti-vaxxers and peddlers of pseudoscience. Truly, pure pseudoscience, so much so that their last meeting, they spent the first full hour of it trying to deny their past history of decrying vaccines, use of public vaccination protocols, etc., and tried to convince the public they're actually real scientists. And then they went on to ask so many terrible questions that any scientist would have laughed them out of the room. They would have failed my basic introductory PhD courses. So she said, I will not rubber stamp their recommendations. I would like to review their scientific validity. This is a problem for RFK Jr. He did not like that. Kennedy instructed her not to talk to any senators as head of the CDC. This is against standard protocol. The head of the CDC is allowed to be called upon by any senator at any time. It is a federal agency that she was in charge of. Kennedy instructed Monarez to fire several top CDC officials with impeccable records of scientific integrity without cause, and she said no. Other top officials at the CDC have said that Kennedy repeatedly refused to speak to them or meet with them because they were wanting to try to show him the data they had, because he kept saying that he has not seen the data. Monarez made this clear that this has been very much on purpose. RFK Jr. repeatedly called the CDC the most corrupt federal agency in the world and stated that they were actively harming children, despite the fact that RFK Jr.'s Children's Health Defense Fund supported illegal experimentation with hormone blockers on autistic children for years and still promotes the people that did this. RFK Jr. illegally experimenting on children. That's right. The former chief medical officer of the CDC, Deborah Howry, made similar statements, saying that she could not implement medical guidance from a tweet and that public health policy should not be dictated from a social media post by a non-expert with non-evidence-based statements. RFK Jr. She also stated that RFK Jr. worked to censor CDC science so that the public would not see the research being done with your taxpayer dollars, and that up to 80% of the staff at certain high levels in the CDC had already been replaced by political appointees of questionable qualifications. At one point, Monarez, the former head of the CDC, said that she was instructed not to speak to any of the career officials at the CDC, only the most recent political appointees. It is clear that the CDC is being destroyed from the inside out by RFK Jr., and this is not just a matter of personal health, but a matter of national security. The CDC tracks and monitors and identifies novel viruses before they start to spread to you and I. All of us and all of our health is going to suffer under RFK Jr. He needs to resign.